So hello, good day. Our topic for again, I am Dr. Santos, and our topic for this week is about biopsy, exfoliative cytology, and immunohistochem. Okay, so this is going to be our last three topics before our final. So last week, diba, we have talked about death and autopsy, wherein, as I have mentioned, autopsy is the study of your tissues from a dead person. Now, in biopsy, the tissues that we are going to examine comes now from a living person. Okay, so in biopsy, it's the medical removal of a tissue from a living subject for diagnostic examination, typically under a microscope to determine the presence or extent of a disease, especially cancer. Okay, so usually this one is done when a tumor is suspected, and then if a tumor is removed or our organ is entirely removed, and then it will be put or studied under the microscope to know the presence or absence of a disease. Diba? So in your objectives of biopsy, we will now establish their diagnosis, determine the nature of a lesion, if it is benign or malignant, and the extent of staging of a disease. And take note that when we talk about staging, we talk about grade and staging, diba? Your TNM staging, and then if it is high grade or low grade. And then of course, if there is already the result of the biopsy, we can now plan appropriate treatment. Okay, so in biopsy, it's important for you to know the different types. So you have your excisional, incisional, and your FNAB and your core needle biopsy. Okay, so basically, excisional talks about the complete removal of a lesion or mass. So it is used when small lesion is small and very easily accessible. So the advantage of this one, it can be curative because you try not to remove the entire mass, okay, or the lesion. So there, the basic procedure is you would actually give now the patient anesthesia, and then you try not to excise the wound, and then you stitch it up to close, to prevent further infection or introduction of foreign substances. Okay, so basically, excisional biopsy is you can remove the entire mass. Okay? However, in your incisional biopsy, it's a removal of the portion. Kumbaga, you are just getting a part of the entire mass. Okay, so you might question, Doc, if excisional removes the entire tumor, bakit ginagawa pa ang incisional? Okay? Because incisional is done usually in large tumors, 'di ba? Parang inversely proportional. Yung excisional, maliit siya, kaya natatanggal mo lahat. Ngayon, dito naman sa incisional, malaki kasi siya, therefore, unti lang yung kukunin mo. Hindi ba pwedeng kunin mo na lahat yung mass para matanggal na rin siya? Unfortunately, that's not the case, diba? As we have learned in neoplasia, a tumor also has its own blood supply. So, kung tatanggalin mo yung buong tumor na yan, tas napakalaki niya, it's a great adaptation, or mag-a-adapt ulit yung katawan ng tao in that sense na para siyang natanggalan ng isang organ, and then there will be a massive blood loss din. So pwedeng madamay kasi yung blood supply na nandun, and pwede kang mag-cause ng bleeding. Okay, so large tumors is where complete excision is not feasible. So usually, ang ginagawa kasi dito sa incisional is nag-get ka ng a portion of that mass, and then sinesend mo siya for biopsy. Now, titignan kung cancerous ba siya or hindi. Kapag hindi siya cancerous, then you might as well just let it be, di ba? Pero kung cancerous yan, magsa-start ka na ngayon ng chemo in the hopes na pwede siyang lumiit. And then kapag maliit na siya, that's the time now that you do excisional biopsy. Okay, so for the procedure, general anesthesia pa rin, and then wedge-shaped sample, and then suturing may or may not be done. Okay, and then for FNAB naman, for core needle biopsy, as you can see here, malaking needle yan. So it's a biopsy technique using a large hollow needle to extract a core of tissue from a lesion. As you can see, this is a 14 to 16 gauge, di ba? In 14 to 16 gauge kasi, malaki yan. So imagine nyo yung pang blood donation na needle, mas malaki pang bore yan. So kung tinusok mo yan sa isang mass, it's possible na makakuha ka ng representative tissue sample that will represent the architectural structure of the mass. Okay, so makikita mo dyan yung basement membrane, the epithelial, the stroma, the parenchyma. Okay, so indications of this one, breast lump, kidney, prostate, a lymph node, and deep tissue tumors. However, this one, although it's minimally invasive, the disadvantage is that sample tissue may not be representative and then requires more skill than fine needle aspiration, and there's a risk of bleeding or hematoma. Actually, yung minimally invasive is quite an understatement kasi malaking needle yan eh. So imagine mo na lang itutusok sa'yo yan. So it's quite invasive talaga, hindi purely minimally invasive. As compared sa counterpart niya, so ito, usually ang core needle biopsy naman ay ultrasound guided or image guided. So may nakatapat diyan na ultrasound para walang ma-damage na any artery or vessel para hindi ka din mag-bleed. Ngayon, meron ka din fine needle aspiration. So in this one, since fine needle, you use now 22 to 25 gauge. Okay, so indications, yung palpable superficial lumps, suspected metastatic lymphadenopathy, and guidance in cystic or solid masses. So as you know, di ba, ang ginagamit ninyo usually for phleb is 23 gauge needle. So parang ganun din. The advantage of this one is quick and also minimally invasive. It can be done in an outpatient with minimal discomfort and rapid results. Unfortunately, as compared kay core needle that you can see the structural representation of the tumor, ang nakukuha mo lang kasi in fine needle aspiration ay cells. Okay? Especially if the lesion is cystic or fluid yung components niya, or solid tumor yan or solid mass yan, may mga cells lang ang makukuha mo. It's not the entire tissue itself. However, that is also as good na rin. Bakit? 'Di ba? When we talked about neoplasia, ang basis kasi nila in using now your FNAB for diagnostic procedures would be kung gaano kapangit yung cells, 'di ba? So kung gaano kapangit yung cells, yung mga pleomorphic or increased nuclear to cytoplasmic ratio, doon pa rin naman magbe-base. Doon nila i-call if yung mga cells na nakuha via FNAB are malignant or not. Okay? So usually ginagamit to sa thyroid. Okay? Thyroid. So processing now of your biopsy, of course, in your histopathology lab, 'di ba? Yung usual na fixation until staining. Okay, so this is your technique for biopsy, excision, incision, core needle biopsy, and your fine needle aspiration. Now let's go to exfoliative cytology. Now this one, exfoliative cytology is the study of the cells that are shed naturally through mechanical means from epithelial surfaces. And this can be examined microscopically to detect abnormalities. So you can do actually, yung smear preparation nito, it's quite very simple. So yung touch preparation wherein you get now a slide and then just touch it in an organ or tissue. Squash preparation, yung lilalagay nyo yung tissue in and 2 slides and then you squash it and then you lift it up, meron ka ng prepared slide. And then you also do the pull apart wherein dinidikit mo yung dalawang slide and then you just pull apart the 2 slides, meron ka ng dalawang smear. Okay? And then there's also a lot pa. Okay? You can do smearing and streaking like in your pap smear. Okay, so types of exfoliative cytology, you have now your spontaneous exfoliation wherein cells are shed naturally into the fluids. So ang ipaprocess mo dito are your urine, sputum, pleural fluid, peritoneal, and your CSF. In your mechanical exfoliation, this is done via mechanical means. So gagamit ka ngayon ng mga instruments like your cervical smear, gagamit ka ng Ayer's spatula, your oral brush biopsy, and your bronchial brushings. So indications for exfoliative cytology, it can be used for cancer screening, diagnosis of infections, assessment of hormonal status, detection of inflammatory conditions, and follow-up of treated malignancies. Okay, so these are your sample types: cervical smear, sputum, urine, peritoneal or pleural fluid, as well as your nipple discharge to detect now your breast cancer. Okay? Ayan. So sample techniques, so give a highlight on this one because this is going to be your role as med techs later on in the sample collection of your exfoliative cytology specimen. Usually kapag hindi available ang doktor or kapag available man, nandun pa rin kayo para nakaalalay in the sample collection itself. Okay, so use aseptic technique, label specimens. Ayan, diyan kayo papasok sa bandang fixation kasi pagpunta nyo sa isang patient, dapat naka-ready na kaagad yung fixative ninyo. Okay? Kasi iaabot sa inyo ng doktor yung specimen, i-fix nyo yan kaagad. Okay? It's important for you to fix immediately the specimen in exfoliative cytology to prevent air drying. Kasi kapag nag-air dry yung mga specimens mo dyan, it will cause artifacts. And yung mga artifacts na yun can be mistaken for malignant variants. Okay, so common fixatives, you have your 95% alcohol, cytospray, and your cytofix. Staining techniques, you have now your Papa Nicolau, HNE, and your special stains like your periodic acid shift, Ziehl-Neelsen for TB, and the rest. Actually, you can use any stain naman as long as you know kung ano yung target ng stain na yun. For example, von Cosas stain. Kung gusto mong mag stain ng calcium deposits, di ba? Ano pa? You can use Biersmark Brown if you want to detect Corynebacterium. Mga ganun. Okay? Ano pa? You can also use Tolwydin Blue. Mga ganun if you want to detect now retics. Mga ganun. Okay? So, cytomorphological features, you can have a normal finding. So, ano yung mga normal finding natin? We have also talked about this in neoplasia, di ba? So, you have uniform nuclei, well-preserved cytoplasm, and appropriate cell size and shape. Ibig sabihin, hindi mataas yung nuclear to cytoplasmic ratio ninyo. Because if it is increased, masyadong malaki yung nucleus as compared to the cytoplasm of the cell, well, that can indicate now a malignant cell. So, if hyperchromasia is also seen and if the cells have irregular borders. Now, you can also see inflammatory cells and this should be reported, okay? Because kapag nakakita kayo ng neutrophils, lymphocytes, and eosinophils, this indicates now inflammation that's going on. So, it's important for you to take note an inflammatory finding kahit na inflammation lang yan, okay? Kasi it will give you at least a peace of mind na ang cause ng lesion na yon or isang tissue na yon or bakit nagsaslap off yung tissue na yon is because of inflammation and not from a malignancy. Okay, so other elements that you can see are infectious agents, fungal hyphae, bacterial inclusions, and your bacteria. Okay, advantages of exfoliative cytology: simple, quick, cost-effective, non-invasive, early detection of cancer. Limitations of this one, may miss deep-seated submucosal lesions kasi nga, since it's exfoliative cytology, more on the superficial ka lang. Okay, so application in screening programs, you can use exfoliative cytology. Pinaka-important talaga na use nito ay in your cervical cancer screening. Okay, pap smear every 3 to 5 years for women aged 21 to 65. So it can detect now cervical intraepithelial neoplasia or CIN in your cervix, and also in your urine cytology for the surveillance of your high-risk individuals. Usually, ang bladder cancer, ano ulit ang causative agent nito? Isang parasite na trematode. Okay, urinary bladder cancer can be caused by your schistosoma hematobium. Okay, whereas in your cervical cancer, it's caused by your human papilloma virus. Okay, so gynecological specimens for exfoliative cytology. Because later on, we will go to the non-gynecological specimens then. Okay, so in your gynecological specimens, this plays a vital role in the early detection and prevention of cervical cancers. So the primary tool that we use here is your pap smear or the Papa Nicolau test. The purpose is to detect precancerous changes or cervical intraepithelial neoplasia, malignancies, infections, and hormonal imbalances. Now, anatomy of importance, so this one represents now your cervix in relation to your uterus and vagina. Okay, so saan tayo usually, dapat alam nyo to. Kasi it's your job as a medtech later on for specimen collection pag mag-a-ask ng help ang mga physicians. So, saan kayo magko-collect ng specimen for pap smear? It should be in that transitional zone or transformation zone. Okay? Ang transformation zone, ayan, doon sa bandang bungad ng cervix. Okay? Doon sa mismong bungad. And after nun, pag naka 360 na kayo doon sa bungad ng cervix, kuha din kayo doon sa lateral walls ng vagina. Okay? For vaginal smear naman. Okay? So, you can get samples from the vaginal wall, the ectocervix, and itong most important, dapat matouch nyo to or dapat majority ng specimen mo galing dapat dito, the transformation zone. Because doon sa endocervix, doon sa mas upper portion or sa mas loob na portion ng cervix, iba yung lining doon, okay? That's your columnar epithelium. Tapos doon sa labas, that's your squamous epithelium na. So, yung pagitan nila, the transformation zone, that is where neoplastic cells arise. Okay, so it's important na dun kayo kumuha para ma-detect nyo kaagad kung may cancer cells na namumuo dun. Okay, so this is your typical specimen collection for pap smear. As you can see, you have now your cyto brush, and then mag-insert ka muna ng speculum, of course, for you to visualize the cervix. And then get now specimen, and then just smear it in a slide, and then you stain it with the Papa Nicolau stain. So the different specimen collection, you can use now your from bottom to top. That's your original R spatula, then the modified R spatula, yung most commonly used nowadays. Pero ang most common talaga that's used nowadays is your cyto brush. Okay, brush mo talaga yan. And then the cervix brush, and then the Asalon Combi biosampler. So as you can see in the picture, this is your picture of your cervix. Okay, so as you can see there, that's the transformation zone. Okay, yung medyo pinkish na part, yan yung area of columnar epithelium, which represents now your endocervix. Okay, tapos yung pagitan nila with the ectocervix is your transformation zone. So that's what you call the squamo-columnar junction, and it's also known as your transformation zone, and it's where cancerous cells arise. Okay, so type of gynecological cytological specimen, you have your conventional pap smear. Liquid-based cytology naman is that same lang din ng pag-collect dun sa pap smear. However, yung kapag na-brush mo na yung cervix, ilalagay mo siya ngayon sa isang fluid, and then after mo siyang ilagay sa isang fluid, imimix mo lang siya, and then you just run it kung paano man kayo nagra-run ng CBC sa automated machine. So ang principle na nito ay flow cytometry. So doon na niya i-identify yung mga cells and all. So liquid-based, ganun. So nakasuspend yung mga cells sa isang medium, and then you just study them by automation. Okay, and then you can also use vaginal smears to know especially in menopausal women or those without cervix, yung mga na total abdominal hysterectomy and oophorectomy, endometrial samples din for your dilatation and curettage. Okay, so indications for gynecological cytology: routine cervical screening, vaginal bleeding or discharge, evaluation of vaginal or cervical infections, and for your collection techniques, of course, since this one involves now the private parts of a patient, you need to ensure patient privacy and as well as consent. Okay? Explain the procedure clearly. Now gathers your materials, your speculum, RC spatula, slide fixative, and your transport medium. Okay, so steps: the patient is put in a dorsal lithotomy position in order for you to visualize the cervix. Now in sample collection, it's important for you to rotate it 360 degrees. Okay, use your combined tools like your cervix brush for both your combined tools using your cervix brush. Now transfer it. For conventional smear, you spread it on a slide and then fix immediately with 95% ethanol. Now for the transport medium naman, rinse brush in preservative solution. That one is for liquid-based cytology naman. Okay? Sorry. And of course, don't forget to label and send it to the lab with proper requisition. And then you do now fixation and staining. So in Papa Nicolau stain, it highlights nuclear detail and differentiates the cell types and identifies abnormalities. Now these are the different cell types that you can see in a pap smear. Okay, so you have your superficial cells, intermediate cells, your parabasal cells, your endocervical cells, and your endometrial cells. So take note of the 5 types of cells that you can see in your pap smear, okay? So, and their characteristics as well. So, don't forget si honeycomb pattern, that's your endocervical. And then si polygonal, siya si intermediate. And then si parabasal cells, these are also known as your navicular cells. Okay, navicular cells. Okay, so reporting, in gynecological specimens, you use now the Bethesda system. Okay, now in Bethesda system, for squamous cell abnormalities, ayan yung mga reporting, atypical squamous cells of undetermined significance. Ibig sabihin lang yan, pag nakakita ka o kapag gusto nyong i-report yung isang pap smear na may pangit kayong nakita pero you cannot really identify kung bakit siya pangit or you cannot really call na cancerous siya or what. You can safely say na atypical squamous cells of undetermined significance. Okay? And that will alert the gynecologist later or yung kahit sino mang magbabasa na doktor na there's a need for monitoring. So ipaparepeat ulit yan. It can either be done after 6 months or after 3 years, 3 to 5 years. Okay, so low grade and your high grade squamous intraepithelial lesions and your squamous cell carcinoma. Now, for glandular cell abnormalities naman, atypical glandular cells, carcinoma in situ, and your adenocarcinoma. Now, however, kapag wala talaga kayong makitang abnormal cells, you can simply put negative for intraepithelial lesion or malignancy. Now, if nakakita naman kayo ng infectious organisms, okay, in infectious organisms kasi, this can be seen in your vaginosis, okay? Remember that in your vaginosis, you can have a parasitic cause, bacterial cause, and parasitic, bacterial, and fungal cause. Okay? So parasitic, see, Trichomonas vaginalis. In your bacterial, it's your Gardnerella vaginalis, wherein you can see now your clue cells. Okay? So it's an epithelial cell studded with bacteria. And then for your fungal, of course, it's your Candida. So regardless of the cause, depending on the cause, doon magbavari ngayon yung treatment mo. Okay? So for vaginal and Trichomonas, you just treat it with metronidazole. And then for Candida, you just treat it with fluconazole or yung mga antifungal drugs. Now, it can also be used for hormonal evaluation. Okay? So maturation index. So doon mo mako-call if menopause na si patient or nasa childbearing stage pa siya. Okay? So ano yung mga gagamitin nating cells? You have the superficial cell, intermediate cells, and your parabasal cell ratio. So kung yung nakikita ninyo ay wala na kayong makitang superficial cell, tas may nakita kayong in the intermediate and parabasal cells, ayan, it suggests now low estrogen, which will indicate now a postmenopausal stage. Okay, so that's it for your gynecological specimen. Now, in your non-gynecological specimen naman, these are specimens coming from the different parts of the body except your vagina. Okay, so it can come from your urine, sputum, pleural, peritoneal fluid, your CSF, bronchial washings, nipple discharge, your bile and pancreatic juice. Basically, lahat kasi ng mga yan merong cells na contain. Okay, may cells dyan, and kapag na-identify or in-undergo mo yung test or microscopic exam dun sa mga cells, it can point out to a cancer kapag pangit yung mga mga cells na nandun. Okay, so it's still indications for the detection of malignancies, effusions, inflammatory diseases, and monitor cancer recurrence. Sorry. So collection methods, you can do spontaneous exfoliation, as in papaihiin mo lang and that's it. Okay, and then sa centrifuge mo siya, then meron ka ng sample. Kasi yung sediment ng urine, doon mo naman makikita yung mga different components of your urine. So, possible na makakita ka doon ng mga RTE cells or mga bladder cells or urothelial cells, di ba? So, techniques to enhance your cellular yield, you can use preservatives and then repeated collections as well as centrifugation para mag-sediment sila at the bottom. Okay, and then for common findings in non-gynecological cytology, your benign cells, it can be in the form of mesothelial cells in your body cavities. They are round, uniform, with small nucleoli. Urothelial cells, they are polygonal, centrally located nuclei, and ciliated columnar epithelial cells in your respiratory specimen. So kung nakikita niyo yung mga benign cells na yan, they are actually the normal lining of your different organs. Now in your malignant cells, of course, nandiyan na yung mga pangit na description. Disorganized, irregular borders, hyperchromasia, tumor diastasis in the background like necrosis, blood, debris, basta pangit. Pag pangit yung nakita mo, walang ka-organize, gano'n, baka malignant yan. Okay, so interpretation and terminology, negative for malignancy if wala talagang makita, atypical cells present, indeterminate, so may need repeat. Kasi call nyo yun as medtechs eh. Sometimes din, hindi rin kayo makakapag-process kapag kulang yung sinend sa inyo in the laboratory. So it's also your call as medtechs later on to report an inadequate or unsatisfactory report kasi nga kulang kayo ng sample. So sabihan nyo ulit, basta i-release nyo siya as a pathological report na specimen inadequate or unsatisfactory. And that would warrant now recollection coming from the physician or kayo mismo. Okay? Para din ma-inform si patient na there's a need to repeat now the procedure. Okay, so kapag suspicious for malignancy, it's suggestive of cancer but not definitive. So you still need to run more tests like immunohistochem and all. And then if it is positive na sure ka na positive siya for malignancy, it's a clear evidence of cancer. And then from there, let's start now your chemotherapy. Okay, so reporting of cancer cytology. So these are cytological features of your malignancy. High nuclear cytoplasmic ratio, hyperchromasia, nuclear pleomorphism, irregular nuclear membrane, mitosis is seen, and disorganized clusters. And this can also be used for cytology reporting. Now, for the structured formats, of course, there's your name of the patient, clinical history, or the site where the cells came from, type of specimen. Now, you do now your initial reading as medtechs as to cell type, arrangement, background, nuclear features. And then, ang magiging sign out dyan would come now from your pathologist. Bavalidate din naman niya yan. Okay, so and then you would also put there your suggestions for further testing like biopsy and immunohistochemistry. Now, in your standardized systems, for cervical specimens, you use your Bethesda. For urinary cytology, use your Paris system. Then for salivary gland cytology, it's your Milan system. And your breast fine needle aspiration is your Yokohama system. Okay, so ancillary techniques, you can use now your immunohistochem. You use your molecular testing for the presence of human papillomavirus or other gene mutations. And then flow cytometry if the exfoliative cytology is indicative of a lymphoma, okay, and leukemia. Now, report as examples. Now, in pap smear, kung wala kang nakita, pwede mo siyang i-report as negative for intraepithelial lesions or malignancy. And then comment, since negative, presence or pwede kang mag-add ng presence of inflammation, reactive cellular changes noted. So, ibig sabihin nun, wala kang nakitang malignancy but there is a presence of inflammation. Ganon, okay? So, possible na you should treat that underlying inflammation because as you know, inflammation or chronic inflammation is also a predisposing factor to any malignancy. Okay? Now, in your breast, for your fine needle aspiration, pwede kayong mag-report as malignant epithelial cells consistent with invasive ductal carcinoma. Now, since sure ka na may cancer talaga, you comment now, correlate with histopathology and imaging. So that warrants now, since fine needle aspiration lang to, you are now actually commenting for the request to do a biopsy para mas representative yung sample na makukuha mo. Okay? So that's it for your exfoliative cytology. Now we go now to your immunohistochem. In your immunohistochemistry, it's a technique that combines anatomical, immunological, and biochemical methods to identify antigens in cells of a tissue section using labeled antibodies as specific reagents. Okay, so this one is needed to diagnose and classify diseases, identify infectious organisms, evaluate prognosis, and guide now therapy. So basic components here is that kung familiar kayo sa ELISA procedure, ganun din siya. Okay, ganun din siya. However, kung sa ELISA yung mga antibodies mo ay nakadikit sa well, andito naman ang antigens mo nandun sa tissue, and then you try now to hanapin yung mga antigens na nakadikit doon sa tissue mismo. Okay? And then, once na nahanap mo using an antibody, you use now another antibody para mahanap yung antigen-antibody complex. And then, iilaw yan. it just depends kung ano yung gagamitin mong indicator, if it is an enzyme or fluorescence. Okay? So you have now the antigen, and then the primary antibody, and then secondary antibody that will bind to your primary antibody and antigen. Now think of secondary antibody as your anti-human globulin. Okay? Anti-human globulin siya. Okay, so you have now your reporter molecule, which can be an enzyme, fluorophore, and your chromogenic substance, depending if you use now your enzyme or fluorochrome. Okay? So the reporter molecule is also tied with your chromogen or substrate. Okay, so for example, ang reporter molecule mo is an enzyme like your horseradish peroxidase or HRP. Ang kakombine niya na chromogen is your diaminobenzidine. Okay, so yun yung color reaction, magigive ng color reaction. Now, in your alkaline phosphatase naman, ang usual na kakambal niyan is fast red. Okay, so kung may na-detect yan ni alkaline phosphatase, ang substrate niya is fast red, o magkakaroon ka ngayon ng color red na reaction. Okay, so tissue fixation in your immunohistochem, you use now your 10% buffered formalin. Fixation preserves tissue morphology and antigenicity, and inadequate fixation can cause false negative and non-specific results. So tissue processing, of course, is the routine tissue processing pa rin ang kailangan mo dyan. And as much as possible, sectioning should be at 3 to 5 micrometers only para maganda talaga yung kapit. Okay, so ayan, this is the immunohistochem overview. You do first deparaffinization and rehydration using xylene and graded alcohol. Since you do rehydration here, baliktad siya from dehydration. From 75-90 to 100, dito naman 195-70, okay? Decreasing level. And then you do now your antigen retrieval. Since antigen nga ang hinahanap mo from the tissue, baka kasi nasira siya in the tissue processing. So you need to retrieve that. Okay? So gagamit ka ngayon ng heat-induced epitope retrieval. That is your HIER. Epitope. Ano ba ulit ang epitope? This is the part of your antigen, di ba, na hahanapin nung antibody. So it's important na mapalabas mo ulit yon. Okay, so you use now your citric buffer, and if you use now your enzyme induced, you use trypsin and proteinase K. Okay, blocking endogenous activity. Bakit natin gagawin yung blocking? Since antigen nga ang hinahanap natin, and then yung antibody hahanapin yung antigen, there's a possibility kasi na mag-cross reactivity sila. Yung antibody, possible na kumapit siya sa ibang structures aside from the antigen. Kaya need mong i-block yung mga other structures aside from the antigen para mas maganda yung paghahanap ng antibody doon sa antigen. Okay? So you use now your peroxidase and then your biotin. Now so ganun ha. And then blocking non-specific binding, you use now your normal serum or protein block. Primary antibody incubation, and then incubate mo din yung secondary antibody, and then you detect now for the color change. It can either be your enzyme labeled using your horseradish peroxidase partnered with your diaminobenzidine or your alkaline phosphatase with your fast red. Okay, and then counterstaining for usually hematoxylin, and then you do now dehydration, clearing, mounting, and then you view now under the microscope. So this is a good representation of your immunohistochem. Okay? So ito yung process na nabanggit ko kanina, from deparaffinization, antigen retrieval, and incubation, pagkapit nung primary antibody sa antigens, ganun. And then you view now under the microscope. So as you can see here, ayan, yung mga color brown dyan, yan yung tinatawag nating immunohistochem na reaction. Okay? So for example, ang antigen na hinahanap nyo is the C-adherin, di ba? Si C-adherin or the cadherin, siya yung nasa basement membrane and then epithelial cell, di ba? Siya yung kumakapit doon. So kapag naglagay kayo ng immunohistochem, hahanapin niya ngayon si adherin, si cadherin, di ba? So kapag nahanap siya, that means present pa yung basement membrane mo. Now kapag wala siyang mahanap or hindi niya na-stain, ibig sabihin wala na si adherin mo doon, ibig sabihin wala ka ng basement membrane, and that can be suggestive of an invasive type of cancer. Okay? Ayan, again, this is a good representation of your immunohistochem. Meron kang tissue, and then that specific antibody, yung color red, antigen, yan yung color red, hahanapin siya ng primary, and then may didikit na secondary antibody that carries now your chromogen and your indicator system. Okay? Ayan, ganito ulit yung itsura niyan. Ayan. So you have different types of your immunohistochem, okay? So in your direct immunohistochem, take note of the advantages and disadvantages, ha. Baka kasi yan yung you might not know that can be what makes direct and indirect be differentiated later on sa mga exams niyo. Okay, possible din kasi na panglito yung advantages and disadvantages na yan. Okay, but basically ito yung itsura ng direct and indirect. Okay? So indirect, ito, in the left side picture, so meron kang antigen, wala ka ng secondary antibody. Yung primary antibody mo, dyan na nakakapit mismo yung substrate and then the indicator. However, in your indirect, meron kang primary and secondary antibody. Okay? So ano yung mas maganda dito? Of course, C indirect, because of greater sensitivity due to signal amplification, more flexible, and it's actually the most common method in diagnostic immunohistochem. Now, based on detection systems, we can classify your immunohistochem as either enzyme labeled or fluorescent labeled. As I've said kanina, the secondary antibody is linked to an enzyme, and then a substrate chromogen is added. So common chromogens, you have now your diaminobenzidine, which will produce your brown pigment, using now your horseradish peroxidase. Aminoethyl carbazole, your red pigment, and then fast red for alkaline phosphatase. Usually used in routine immunohistochem. Ito talaga actually. Minsan, kapag mayaman yung hospital ninyo, you can do fluorescence labeled, okay? You can do fluorescence labeled, pero ang disadvantage nito is that it's expensive due to you need now a fluorescent microscopy. Okay, so anong usual na ginagamit natin? It's your FITC or your fluoroisothiocyanate, okay? Fluoroisothiocyanate. And then, or you can also use your Alexa Fluor. You also have now, based on labeling techniques. Now, in your avidin biotin complex, your avidin biotin complex, ayan, yung star na yan, that's your avidin, and then yung mga maliliit na yan, that's your streptoavidin. Ang ginagawa lang nito actually is, pinapatingkad niya or pinapaganda niya yung reaction, kumbaga. Okay, pinapatingkad niya yung reaction. Kasi sometimes, kung hindi yan, paano ba to? Kung iisang enzyme lang kasi ang nakakapit dyan sa antibody mo or your secondary antibody, konti lang yung color reaction na mangyayari. Okay? Konti lang. Kasi nga, iisang indicator lang yung nandyan. However, kung gagamit ka ng avidin biotin complex, it will amplify now the color reaction. Kasi nga, mas maraming magre-react dyan na enzymes. Okay? You can also use the polymer-based detection system. Okay, when you say polymer, it's made up of monomers. Okay, monomers yan. And then kapag nag-combine yung monomer, you will have a polymer. Now, in your polymer-based detection system, you use now, the polymer backbone carries multiple enzyme molecules and antibodies. A good example of your polymer is your dextran. Okay, kamukha siya ni glycogen. Because ang monomer ni glycogen is glucose, di ba? Glucose. You will form glycogen. And glycogen is somewhat similar to dextran. Okay? So, anong advantage nito? There is no biotin. Kasi, kung gagamit ka ng biotin-avidin complex, possible na yung antibody kasi, it can kumapit doon sa biotin na nasa tissues mo. Kasi nga, meron tayong natural biotin sa katawan. Okay? So, this now produces less background. Hence, mas maganda yung color reaction na masisilip mo under the microscope. Actually, your polymer-based detection system is actually the gold standard that is used in your clinical labs. Okay? So, this is your polymer-based detection system. As you can see, meron kang polymer na nakadikit dyan, para siyang hair strand, and then doon nakadikit yung mga enzymes mo. And kapag nahanap nila yung antigen-antibody reaction, more ngayon yung reaction niya. Okay, so based on number of antigens detected, you can have single stain or you can have the multiplex. So from the name itself, single stain, isang antigen per slide, which is more commonly used in routine diagnostics, and multiplex if you can view now 2 or more antigens. Now, you also have specialized types of your immunohistochem like your tyramide signal amplification. So you use now tyramide labeled fluorophores or haptens. And then you can also use now your quantum dot-based immunohistochem. So it uses semiconductor nanoparticles for fluorescent labeling, brighter and more stable than traditional fluorophores, and still largely experimental. Okay, so these are your specialized type. Your tyramide labeled is actually similar with your fluorescent labeled. However, this one has mas maganda yung color reaction nito. And your quantum dot technique naman. Okay, but it's important for you to take note, ang most commonly used talaga niyan is your indirect immunohistochem with your polymer-based method. Okay? So, I want you to memorize this part of the slide, okay? This will be your panlaban, baka lalabas siya sa exams, okay? So, the markers which are your antigens, okay? Yan yung hahanapin nung antibody doon sa tissue, okay? Your cytokeratin or CK, kapag nakadetect ka ng cytokeratin, it represents now your epithelial origin tumors. Okay, epithelial origin tumors or vimentin kapag yung tumor mo is of the mesenchymal origin or nasa connective tissues, CD3 and CD20 for T and B lymphocytes, HER2/neu for breast cancer, ERPR for hormone receptor status. ERPR kasi represents now your estrogen receptor and your progesterone receptors. Okay, ibig sabihin yung tumor na yon kapag nag-positive siya sa ERPR, that means naaapektuhan siya ng estrogen tsaka progesterone. Okay? Your Ki67, your P53, your tumor suppressor mutation indicator, your CD68, and then your S100. Okay, for melanoma and neural tumors. Now, for the controls you use in your immunohistochem, you use now positive control and your negative controls and quality control assurance. Of course, in quality control, just like your quality control in your other clinical labs, you validate every time you open a new reagent, use batch and run controls, participate in ECWAS, and document nyo yung control na ginagawa nyo every day. Now, for positive controls, you use tissue-known express antigens, which ensures now that your reagents are working, and your negative controls omit primary antibody and detects non-specific binding. Now, for clinical applications, in oncology, of course, ito talaga ang most common application niya in your cancer, study of cancer, and cancer diagnostics. So, you can type or subtype your lymphoma, breast cancer. Kasi, one good example of this one is in your breast cancer. Kasi kapag nag-positive siya sa HER2/neu, that means na yung breast cancer, alam mo kung saan siya galing. Okay? Because of a mutated gene, which is your HER2/neu. Ngayon, maganda yung prognosis nun. Kasi nga, alam mo yung cause. Okay? Meron kang cause. However, kapag meron kang breast cancer and then nag-negative yan for HER2/neu, doon ka kakabahan. Kasi bakit siya may breast cancer? Hindi siya product of a gene mutation. Ganon. So, mas mahirap ngayon i-treat yun. Okay? Kasi walang gene therapy that is directed towards that type of breast cancer because you do not really know what you are dealing with. Okay? Ganon siya. Okay, and then for infectious diseases, you can detect organisms like CMV, HSV, and your tuberculosis. And in your neuropathology, you can have markers for glial tumors like your GFAP, your neuronal tumors, your NEON, and other CNS cells. Okay, so troubleshooting your immunohistochem, what happens if there is weak staining? So the possible cause is that inadequate antigen retrieval. Maybe your antigens are masked or you didn't do much effort to retrieve now your antigens. Kung low antigens ka kasi, low din yung kakapitan ng antibody mo. Diba? So, what's your solution there? Increase concentration of the antigen. Background staining, you did not do blocking. 'di ba? Hindi mo blinak yung background. That's why may ibang structures na na-stain din. No staining, kapag no staining at all, ibig sabihin lahat ng antigens mo dyan na-destroy. Okay? Balik ka ulit sa step 1. So, check mo yung fixation mo, validate the antibody, as well as validate yung source. And then, high background naman, there's endogenous enzyme activity kasi nga you are dealing with enzyme reactions, diba? So, kung may enzymatic reaction that's happening in your background, that can also interfere with your interpretation. Okay, so anong gagawin mo doon? I-block mo din yung enzymatic process na nangyayari sa likod or in your background. Okay? So that would be all for our last 3 topics. I hope merong at least lumabas na isa because actually this biopsy, exfoliative cytology, and immunochem is quite a diverse topic. So sana man lang nandun or maiwan sa inyo yung basic concepts para whatever it is na lumabas which regards to these 3 topics, at least may bala kayo and know how to approach the different types of questions that might come out in your final exam, okay? Parang pwede nyong laruin, kumbaga, yung possible na mga questions na lalabas sa final exams ninyo. Okay, so that would be all and I hope mag-succeed tayong lahat and good luck in your final exams. Okay, thank you.